Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sicsen and welcome to my newest video. If you only watch my channel for video game videos, then I suggest not watching this video because I have gotten some comments like, oh, I only subscribe to you for gaming. I'm going to be talking about my coming out story, aka when I realized that I'm a lesbian and when I told everybody else. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because one time when I was live streaming, someone asked me to tell my coming out story, and I realized that from my experience it might help somebody else out who is still struggling to come out, and so I figured that it was worth making a video. I'm gonna try not to drag on, so I'm just gonna start. Basically, when I was younger, I realized that something wasn't quite right because I didn't feel the same way about boys that my friends did. I mean, I could tell if a boy was cute or attractive and everything, but I didn't feel any emotional connection and I didn't have any actual desire to date them. I did, however, have that kind of connection with girls, but I didn't think that it was a big deal. I thought that everybody had that for whatever reason. So I guess, yeah, I had crushes on girls when I was younger, but they weren't like full blown. I never thought that I wanted to kiss a girl. I never thought that I wanted to date a girl. I just thought, oh, she's really pretty, I like looking at her. Or, oh, she's really nice, I want to be her friend. So I thought it was normal. Growing up, my family was kind of religious. We went to church every now and then, mostly every Sunday. And of course, we were taught that being gay was bad. So naturally, I thought it was like a sin, and I am guilty of making fun of gay people when I was younger and I, was ignorant. And partially it was because I was in denial of myself. The first time I ever kind of came to terms with it was when I was in 5th grade. So I was like 10 or 11. Every night I said a prayer before I went to bed. And one night I went to bed, I, got down on my knees, I did the whole shebang, and I was like, please God, make me like boys. I didn't actually say it. I didn't actually say, please don't make me a lesbian, but I said, please make me like boys, which is kind of the same thing. By that point, I knew that there was something going on. I knew that the way that I was feeling was not normal, or at least not considered normal. But then I completely dropped it and I didn't think about it until my freshman year of high school. Freshman year is when I kind of got into Tumblr and everything, which really opened my mind to like the LGBT community and everything like that. If it wasn't for Tumblr, I probably would have taken a much longer time figuring myself out. But basically, my freshman year, I began to consider myself an ally, and this was while I was also moving away from religion. So I stopped believing that being gay was a sin. I was like, let gays do whatever they want, love is love, all that stuff. But I still considered myself straight, even though I had like zero interest in men. That is until December of my freshman year. I remember this all very specifically. I used to go to the library a lot after school with my best friend, and we would just hang out there, do homework, stay there until our parents picked us up. And I have no idea how we got onto this topic, but we were like, oh yeah, kissing girls is not even a big deal. Like, I would kiss you. And when she said that, when she said like, oh yeah, I would kiss you, it's no big deal, I was like, oh yeah, same. And then I was like, wait. In that moment, I realized that that is something I would actually probably enjoy. I didn't necessarily have a crush on my best friend then, but the thought of kissing a girl made me feel a whole lot more than the thought of kissing a guy. And I had kissed guys, in previous years. And after kissing guys, I just remembered being disappointed. And I thought, oh, I guess that's all I have to look forward to in life. Disappointment. So after that whole thing happened, it was like this. I was like, yep, I'm a lesbian. That's it. Like, no questions asked. But I was still in denial. I remember one night I was lying in bed and I had my phone out and I typed in Google how to become straight. And I was looking on like Yahoo Answers and they were like, yeah, you can't. And I was like, well, fuck. I didn't want to be gay. Even though I knew that like people were more accepting now than they were like 20 years ago, I knew that it still wouldn't be easy, and I knew that it would still mean that I was even more of a minority because I would be a gay Hispanic woman. I just didn't want to have to go through that. So even though I had accepted myself, I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone until I'm in college, which is where I am now. Some time passed and I thought that, maybe I should tell some of my friends. Like, I wasn't gonna tell my parents. I was like, no way am I telling my parents, but I can tell my friends because I knew that they were gonna be accepting of me. So I had a crush on one of my friends. This wasn't my best friend. It was just a different friend that I had developed a crush on after realizing that I was a lesbian. And some things told me that possibly she liked girls as well, but she was also straight. Spoiler, she came out as bisexual later on. So in an effort to kind of like make that process faster for her so she could date me, I messaged her first and I was like, hey, guess what? I think I'm bisexual. At first I just wanted to say I was bisexual because I felt like it was less bad. To me, like being bisexual wasn't as bad as being full out gay. So that's what I started saying to everybody. Of course, she was totally supportive and I thank her so much for that. And then I told my best friend and she was supportive, but she was just kind of surprised, which I don't know why. I mean, I feel like you could always kind of tell with me. I ended up telling some more friends and I didn't make like a, you know, Facebook announcement or anything. Like it wasn't a big thing. I just told a few people, they told a few people. Eventually it became a widely known thing in my school, but it wasn't like a big deal at all. So at this point it's like February in my freshman year and for some reason I just can't take anymore. Like I have to tell my parents. I was like, yeah, I know I said I wasn't gonna do it until college, but I can't wait that long. I can't be, you know, secretive if I ever have a girlfriend. So I was like, might as well just tell them now. I was really worried about telling them, especially for my mom, because she was the one who was more religious. I didn't think they were gonna kick me out or anything. I just thought that they would treat me differently or they would say that I wasn't, you know, like allowed to have a girlfriend or anything. So because I had so much anxiety about telling them, I figured that I would write a letter and then send it to them via email. I've always been more articulate with writing. Like if I'm talking to someone, especially if it's like a really emotional conversation or an argument, I just can't get out what I need to say eloquently enough. If I'm getting emotional, I don't know what I'm saying and I feel like my point isn't getting across, and so I just figured that writing a letter would be the best way to go about it. My parents were divorced, by the way, so I was at my mom's house when this was happening. So I wrote out the letter. I think it was like 2 pages typed. I said that I was a lesbian. I didn't say bisexual. I said, you know, maybe in the future I might date a guy, but it's probably not gonna happen. So just giving them a little bit of hope. And then I included, you know, some like links that I found on the internet for parents of gay teenagers because I thought, you know, maybe that would be helpful and maybe that would help them understand a little bit more. I also mentioned, you know, the whole Bible thing and how it makes no sense for gays to be considered a sin when the Bible also bans like, what is it, like leather and something else, like 2 materials together, I don't know. Basically what I was trying to say is that the Bible is not a credible source for determining a person's worth. So I typed out the email and then I sent it, and then I went right downstairs because my mom was cooking dinner. I knew that she hadn't seen the email yet, so I was just kind of enjoying the moments that I had before she was like potentially freaking out over this news. I think she kind of sensed that something was wrong, so she was like, hey, like, do you have something to tell me? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, tell me, like, what is it? And so I was like, well, guess. So she's like guessing all this stuff. She's like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? I was like, nope. She asked me a bunch of questions and then all of a sudden she paused and she was like, don't tell me you like girls. And I was just like, So I guess I kind of did tell my mom in person, even though she guessed it, but my response made it really obvious that yes, that was it. To say that she was surprised was an understatement. She wasn't hostile about it at all, and I'm really grateful for that. But for a long time after that, she kind of treated it as though it was a phase and everything. I mean, I'm sure now she realizes that no, Mom, it's not a phase. It's been like, what, 5 years? But she has been really supportive about it so far, so I'm really grateful for that. After that happened, I saw my phone ringing and I realized that it was my dad. I was like, oh my god, he must have gotten my email. So I ended the call. I didn't want to talk to him. I was afraid of what he was gonna say, and I had a week before I was gonna go to my dad's house, so I didn't talk to him for that whole week. And then the day that I finally went to his house, we didn't really say anything, and I went into my room. And then the next day when I was getting ready for school, he came into my room and he was like, we need to have a discussion in the car about your recent decision. Since he said the word decision, I already kind of knew that it wasn't going well because it meant that he thought it was voluntary, which it's not. Being gay is not a choice. So I wasn't excited for the car conversation, to say the least. So I get in the car and we're driving a little bit, and then he was like, so what do you mean you're gay? And I was like, I like girls. And he's like, since when? And I'm like, I don't know, since always. I only just recently found out. Like, he just didn't understand. And then he went on saying that he didn't want me to tell anybody, which I kind of was like, I already told some of my friends, like, kind of the entire school. He was like, I don't want you telling any of the family, any of the extended family. I don't want to hear about you holding hands with some girl in the hallway. Basically, he was saying all this stuff that meant that he didn't accept me. I wasn't really that surprised. My dad took a much longer time to adjust to the whole thing than my mom did. For the first like month or so, we barely even talked to each other. But over the past few years, with all the girlfriends that I've had, I think I've had like 3 or 4 long-term ones, he's gotten way better and he's gotten way more accepting, and I'm just like really lucky that he's been like that. And same with my mom. I realized that it could have been a whole lot worse, and I just feel so sorry for those who have been like disowned, kicked out of their houses and everything like that. It's just not fair. But if you're thinking about coming out, then just make sure that you're in a safe environment. If you think you're gonna get kicked out because of your sexuality, then I would say don't come out just now. Wait a little bit until you have your own place, or until you're with someone else and living in their place. Then you can come out if you still want to. You don't even have to come out. Like, I hate how coming out has become a requirement for like being gay. Like, you don't have to come out to anyone if you don't want to. You can just, you know, casually in conversation be like, oh yeah, my girlfriend did this, and then they'll know. And if they have a problem with it, then they can shove it right up their ass. I hope that hearing my story has helped a little bit. I don't really know how helpful it was, but I know that when I was thinking about coming out, I watched so many YouTube videos on coming out. And no matter how many videos you watch, you're still gonna be nervous about it, which is normal, but trust me, it's gonna be okay. If you think that your parents are gonna be okay with it, or if they're just gonna be tolerant of it, then I say go for it. Give them as much time as they need, because I mean, they're older, they're in another generation, they aren't used to the way that things are now. But anyway, that's my coming out story. I tried to keep it short and sweet, but this video is probably gonna be long as hell. If you guys want me to make a video on anything else relating to this topic, like how I handled certain things or whatever, then just let me know in the comments and I will consider it. But thank you for watching. Good luck to those who are planning on coming out if you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.